Vite versus React speed. Is it faster? Is it better? Before I can answer that question or demonstrate that in this video, there is some setup that has to be done on the computer, and I will show some of the tools and command lines that I have set up, and the VS Code, the Vite, the React, create React app, and things like that will be discussed and shown in the video. And in real time, I will show how long it takes to use the two different approaches to creating React applications. Thanks for stopping by to check out this new video. Today I'm going to be talking about a comparison between Vite and React and using some command line tools, also VS Code, and doing a comparison to see how fast they are as compared to each other. So let's go ahead and get started. Vite, I opened up the website here on the left. Next generation front-end tooling, get ready for a development environment that can finally catch up with you. Lightning fast HMR hot module replacement. Rich features, fully typed APIs, optimized build, instant server start. So we'll be looking at creating a new project on a command line and see how fast it creates it and how fast it runs it as compared to using create React app. And from my experience, using Vite is a lot faster. So let's go ahead and get started. I will show a few things that I have set up on this machine because you may or may not have them set up or similar versions on your machine. This is a Windows 10 machine. And so here I showed the version of NPM that I'm running currently, 9.5.0, and Node version 18.15.0, and then NVM, which if you haven't used that before, you might want to take a look at it. I'll pull that web page over here in just a second. And so I'm running version 1.1.9. And then down here at the bottom, I showed how using NVM list, I'm currently using the 18.15.0 version. But if you need to support different versions of NVM, you can, and NPM, you can use this tool to install kind of like a wrapper around each version, and then you can switch between them using this NVM command here that you can see. So it shows the version that's installed, or you can install a version, you can list the versions. So I wanted to mention that tool. Now let's go ahead and pull a web page over here. This is the NVM Windows, Corey Butler. It's on GitHub. And it does look like they're working on a new tool called Runtime. So I'll be taking a look at that sometime in the future. But for now, the NVM for Windows. Right here it says the overview, manage multiple installations of Node.js on a Windows computer. So that's basically what it's used for. I also pulled up another web page here for Node.js, just in case maybe you haven't used it before. If you're new to this, you have to install Node.js before you do anything else. So I've already installed it a little while ago. As you saw, my version is a little outdated, but that's okay for the purposes of making these type of videos. So you may want to go to nodejs.org if you don't have that installed already, if you're going to follow along. Node.js is important. It's an open source, cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment, so we do need that to be running. All right, so let's go ahead and move a few things off the screen here. I also just wanted to quickly mention that I am using VS Code, and you can download that from Microsoft for free in case you haven't used that before. I'll include links to any of these tools or websites in the description of the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started making the two different versions. In the top window here, I have a folder with React and Vite as the two folders where I'll create these applications. I did just go ahead and make the fonts a little bit bigger, so that should make it easier to see what I'll be doing. I also put together some basic notes here about Vite and SWC. Vite is designed to be intuitive, it's easy to use. Even for developers who are new to web development, Vite's simple configuration system and modular design make it easy to get started. With its built-in development server, it provides hot module replacement and fast refresh, which makes iterating through your code easier. SWC stands for Speedy Web Compiler. It's a super fast TypeScript JavaScript compiler written in Rust. It's a library for Rust and JavaScript at the same time. Vite and SWC are powerful tools that can significantly improve the development experience for React projects. With their ability to reduce build times, improve performance, and provide a fast and efficient workflow, developers can quickly develop and iterate on their web applications. And I think you will see the speed differences when I start running some of these commands here. So let's go ahead and do the React application first. So I'll go ahead and change into the React directory. And then I will run the React command to create a new application. We're just going to call it 1. Keep it real easy. npx create -react -app and then a space and the number 1. So let's go ahead and run that. And I'm not going to pause the video. This computer has an SSD hard drive in it, which does make it substantially faster than a normal hard drive. So we're just going to go ahead and let it run so you can get a feeling, if you haven't done this before, to see how long it takes. And then we'll compare it to running the same basic commands inside of Vite to see how long it takes. So right now it's installing all these packages. It says it'll take a couple minutes. I don't believe it takes that long on this computer system. And I also have a couple browser tabs open so that I will bring them over when it's time to show the running applications for the React app, the default React app, and the default Vite app. They run on different ports. And so I already have them basically pulled up in other windows right now. But we just need to let this finish. Alright, I think it's getting close to being finished here. Alright, so there you go. I didn't time it exactly, but that felt like a minute, maybe 90 seconds. So we can see some of the commands that it suggests that we run: to cd into the number 1 directory and then to type npm start. Now we may see some warnings or whatever, since this is slightly older framework that's installed right now versus the latest one, as we saw on the other web page. So let's go ahead and do cd 1 and then we'll type npm start and hit enter, and let's let it get started up here, creating an application that will run in the web browser. And I'll also stop it once it's started, and then we'll restart it and we'll see how much faster it is the second time around when you start it from scratch. So now it's starting to output some information. And it's starting the development server. So let's go ahead and pull that over here on port 3000, and we will see the default application running here in just a moment. So there's the application running on port 3000, and we can see here that it says it was successfully compiled. So let's go ahead and stop it, and then we'll rerun it again. I just hit Control C there. So now if we hit refresh, of course it's not going to work. So let's go ahead and rerun that command, npm start. And it's getting things started. And it's back up and running. So that didn't take too long the second time around. So that gives us an idea of about how long it takes on an average computer to get the React application compiled and up and running. So now let's compare that to Vite. I will be coming back to this React application and opening it inside of VS Code so we can compare side by side the files that the React application creates versus the files that the Vite application creates. And then one of the last things I'll do, I'm going to do the eject, which will basically rebuild the React application with all these extra configuration files, so we can see the difference between the standard create React app and one that's been ejected, so that you have more control over the environment. All right, so let's go ahead and create the Vite application. So I'll type npm create Vite at latest, and then hit enter, and let's see how long it's going to take to do this. Well, first we have to give it a project name, so we'll just call it the same. We'll call it 1. And then it's nice that it's asking us what framework do we want to create with this application. So I'm going to pick React since we're comparing React to React, but there are others there that you can choose. And then we have 4 different options, which is why I mentioned the SWC in the notepad file before. So I'm going to go ahead and pick JavaScript and SWC because it does make things faster. And so it says it's already done, and that took like a second or less. So let's cd into the directory. Now we have to run npm install ourselves. So we'll go ahead and do that. Now this will take a little bit of time, but not nearly as much as what it took for the React application. And as soon as it finishes, I'll go ahead and do the npm run dev command, and I'll have it open up the application. So there, that really didn't take very long at all. Now we can do npm run dev, and it's going to pop open a new browser here. Well, I just opened it myself. All right, so here's our Vite application, and I think you saw it loaded like almost instantaneously. So definitely a lot faster. And you can see here that it's using port 5173. So I think that shows how much more quick the process is using Vite. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the code files behind the scenes in VS Code. So let me get those windows pulled up here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and type in the word code for VS Code because it's already installed on my machine, and a period for the current directory, and it asks if I trust the authors. Yes. So there, we'll have that open. We'll get it resized a little bit, and we can close the welcome page. Now let's go ahead and open up the Vite code also. And we'll go ahead and move that over here on the left. Just trying to get them resized about the same here. All right, let me get this set up. All right, so I got both code windows open here. If you look down in the bottom, you'll see this is the Vite application on the left side, and then on the right side is the React application. So these windows down here are where I can type in various commands like we were doing before in the command windows. Alright, so let's take a look here. First of all, I do have a lot of extensions. They're free plugins for this code editor, VS Code. And one of them is the live server right here. So if I click on that, you can see 37 million developers have downloaded it. So maybe if you haven't used it before, you want to install that. Then you have this button right here you can say, or click on, to click the Run Live Server, which is a really quick and easy way to make your web application, which in this case is an index.html file, make it run really quickly. Alright, so I have the code pulled up and I have the folders expanded for the Vite project and the React project on the right side. So if you take a look at the folders here on the left side, you can see there's a public folder, and we have a public folder here in React. There's a few more files there. We can see under the src for source that we also have some files in both applications, app.css, app.js. Over here in Vite, it's called JSX, index.css, which we have over here too, main.jsx. In here it's called index.js, so slight differences. Then we have a few other configuration files here. The get ignore, which is in both. We also have like a test JavaScript file here in React, and a readme file, of course. And then we have this vite.config.js. And so if you have to define different configuration parameters depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you can come into this vite.config.js. So you're not going to see that over here in the React application, and we can go through that in another video. So that's basically the main differences between the files. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the speed again, comparing the Vite process to the React process. So we'll go ahead on the Vite application, and we're going to go ahead and build it first. So that will be npm run build. And if you're wondering what that's doing, if you haven't seen this before, it's in package.json. So npm run build, it basically does this command here, Vite build. So that's what's going to happen behind the scenes. So now let's see how long it takes. And I'll just let it run. So it's building for production. And it put it in the build or dist folder right here. So we can see index vite.svg and the assets. Those are the files that it basically created with the information that came from the app files down here and the main.jsx, so it bundled them together and put them and referenced them here in the index file. You can see they're referenced here as /assets index and then a ID for the files. So that's basically what it just did, and it just, as you saw, it says right here it took 2.18 seconds, which is really fast. And then if we want to preview it, we do npm run preview. Now that's going to open it up in a web browser. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I actually ran this before, but we'll just go ahead and bring this up here. So go ahead and bring it up, and let's go ahead and run the preview now. And so it tells us right here what the local port is, and it's localhost. So I just clicked it and it's there basically immediately. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that right now. So now let's go ahead and start up the developer mode, which will allow us to make changes and see them immediately in the web browser. So npm run dev, and it's going to take about a second, 513 milliseconds, which is really great. So I'll do control click and I'll open it up in another web browser, so there you can see it opened it basically immediately. Now let's go ahead here in our index file and we'll change the title to say app, or we can say app number 1. And then I'm going to hit Control S to save it, and you can see immediately it showed the changes right over there in the web browser. So here I've opened up the app.jsx file, which does get compiled and built into the final version that we were looking at before in the index.html, but we are working on the development version right now. So I have app.jsx pulled up here in my editor, and now let's just say hello world and welcome. Please click on the Vite and React logos to learn more. So now I'm going to hit Control S, and we can see it says it did the hot module reload there, update, and it made the change immediately. So Vite is really fast, and when you're first building the application, as I showed, and then when you're running it here and making your changes, I just feel like it's speeding things up tremendously. There's a lot of people mentioning, you know, it can be so much faster. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the React side and see what that looks like for speed. So now let's open up the package.json file so we can see what scripts are available to us. And we can see here, start, build, test, and eject. The three that I'll be running today will be start, build, and eject at the end of the video to show all of the changes that get made to this application when you do that, which will allow more deep configuration changes to be made and customizations, but you can't go backwards. Once you run that command, you are stuck with all the changes that it makes to your application. So here I thought I would go ahead and ask ChatGPT about the configuration files and the using the eject command. So let's take a look at what it said here. The eject command in a React application created with CRA, create React app, is a one-way operation that ejects your app from the CRA setup. It reveals all the underlying configuration files and dependencies that CRA manages for you behind the scenes. Once executed, you cannot go back to the original simplified setup. Number 1, transparency. Configuration files. By default, CRA hides its configuration for tools like Webpack, Babel. ESLint, and others to provide a streamlined, beginner-friendly experience. Running eject will make these configurations explicit, exposing all the configuration files and scripts. 2. Full configuration control. Customization. If you need to make specific configurations to Webpack, like a custom loader or Babel, add a new plugin, you'll need to eject. This gives you full control over the configuration to tweak it however you see fit. Number 3, dependencies. Dependency control. The eject command will separate all the underlying dependencies that were bundled into a single dependency, React scripts, and add them individually to your package.json. This allows you to manage and update these dependencies separately. Number 4, scripts. Build and development scripts. The build and development scripts that were abstracted away in the React scripts command become visible. You can now modify them directly if needed. One-way operation. It's irreversible. Once you've ejected, you cannot reverse the process or go back to the simplified CRA setup without initializing a new project. Before ejecting, it's recommended to commit your code so that you can refer back to the pre-ejected state if needed. And I will be showing the code changes that are made in just a few moments in the video by doing some git commands. Number 6, advanced use cases. Beyond the basics, ejecting is primarily for users who are comfortable with managing complex configurations and need more than what the default CRA setup provides. Most small to medium-sized projects might not need eject at all. And then some considerations before ejecting. Commit your work, weigh the pros and cons. While ejecting gives you more control, it also comes with the responsibility of managing configurations, updates, and potential conflicts. Alternatives. Before ejecting, consider if there are alternatives that meet your needs. For example, you can use tools like React App Rewired or Customize CRA for customizing CRA configurations without ejecting. In summary, the eject script in a CRA project serves to provide advanced users with complete control over the build setup. It's a powerful tool, but should be used with caution as it transitions the project from a maintained, opinionated configuration to a fully customizable one. That's a lot of words, but I did want to share that. I do think it's an accurate explanation of what is going on when you do the eject command. So let's get back to the main video. So let's go ahead and run npm start. And let's see how long it takes here. So that wasn't too bad. And here to open it up in the web browser. So we'll go ahead and move that over here to the left this time. And let's go ahead and make a change. Let's go to the index.js file, the app.js file, and we'll go ahead and make a change in here. Learn React right now with an exclamation point. And so it did take a little bit longer. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but I'd say it was 2 or 3 times longer than waiting for Vite, which was like immediate or very close to that. So now you can see my changes. Learn React right now. Let's go ahead and build it into a production version, as it says here. To create a production build, use npm run build, and let's see how long that takes. So first I'll go ahead and cancel this command, and then we'll run npm run build. And let's see how long it takes. We'll just ignore that message, doesn't matter. Still going. So you can see it's taking a lot longer than using Vite. So there, it's finished. So it did take noticeably longer. Now let's go ahead and run another command here, and we'll do npx serve build. And it tells us it needs to install a package, so let's go ahead and let it do that. And let's go ahead and open up the application. So here it opened up in localhost port 3000. So that was fairly quick once it got everything finished to open it up in the web browser. So I think if you just really compare the time savings that's added up minute by minute and day by, or hour by hour and day by day as you're using these tools, the kind of time that can be saved, it may not seem real significant based on the comparisons that I did here, but there were definitely some points that took a lot longer using React. So I would say consider using Vite and give it a try, see if you think it's a lot faster and save you time for developing your React applications. I know that's what I'll be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this command here, and we're going to go back and look at the package.json, and we see the eject command there, so we're going to go ahead and do that and look at the difference. So here on the React side, I did a git commit -m first commit. So it went ahead and did the first commit of these files, and now I'm going to go ahead and run the other command, and we'll be able to use VS Code to see the changes. So let's go ahead and do npm run eject. And it asks us, are you sure you want to eject? This action is permanent. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And now we'll watch all the cool stuff happening here in the application code and configuration files. So there it finished. And if we scroll back a little bit, here we can see copying files into the configuration directory. So there's all these new configuration files. Again, if you have to get in and tweak a lot of things and do things differently than the Create React app normally does, this is what you have to do. So there's a bunch of different files also in the scripts folder and the config webpack folder. And then it updates the dependencies. So it removes React scripts from dependencies, and then it adds all these other dependencies. Babel Jest, Babel Loader, Babel Plugin, and many others. Just going down the list here. And then it updates the scripts. So that's all the things that happen behind the scenes when you run that eject command. So here I made the React application take up most of the screen, and so we can see here on the left side, if we go back to the files, and then we can see this here, source control, 15 pending changes. So you can go in and see that this was added, this was added, this was added. So we can see the files that were added, ones that were modified. And then if I click on each of these, you can see in the green all of the changes that it made to the project. And so all of these things are happening behind the scenes when you don't do the eject command, or at least a lot of them are. It's kind of like magic, and by running the eject command, it's exposing this information in case you need to override things and tweak and configure things differently for whatever your reasons might be. So anyway, I wanted to show this eject command and the changes that it makes just as a side note. And I think you'll find using, or Vite, I think you'll find using Vite is a lot faster and will save a lot of time over a project's lifetime, and you should definitely look into it in case you haven't used it before. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and found something useful in it. I will make other videos as soon as possible, as time allows. And I hope you have a great day or evening, and I'll talk to you soon. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content.